I am Cobi Druxerman. I am one of the co-founders of Taplytics and our head of product. And Taplytics is a customer experience automation platform. We'll dig into what that means in just a little bit, but go ahead, Vic.
And I'm Vic. I've not a co-founder, but I've been around with Cobi at Taplytics forever. I'm on the product team. Started writing these tools and SDKs on the engineering side, and started really working out where we want to take our product and how we want to expand it out to different environments, different things. And I've been working with Cobi on that ever since. So that's me. Cobi,
Sweet.
You're going to take it away. I'm going to sit around silently until
and
keep
hop in
me
when you
honest.
want to interrupt me. Yeah. So today, I think what we're mainly doing is demoing for you fine folks something a little bit new, a little bit fun, and just show off a little bit of stuff here. So let me kick off a screen share. Oh, fun. This is the first maybe demo problem. I have Catalina is telling me that I may need to quit and rejoin.
Oh, it's okay. I'll keep the crowd entertained, Cobi.
Okay.
Maybe not. And for anybody just joining, we're going to be showing off some new product stuff. Some of you may have seen kind of the earlier workings of this. I believe we showed it off previously, and now we're going to be showing off kind of a use case, talk about various use cases, how you could use this, and as we're going through it, you're going to see a lot of different things. Feel free to jump into the chat, ask some questions about what each little piece does, and we can expand on that. So, Cobi's at work.
I am back. Can you see me now?
Yes, sir.
And let's see if I can share my screen.
Oh, Siri.
Okay, cool. Can you see that now? You able to see the dashboard there, Vic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. I cannot, while doing this in the chat, so Vic, maybe call out if there's anything that I need to be addressing or anything like that. So so one of the things, so we'll effectively go through today, as I was saying, Taplytics is a customer experience automation platform, and we really want to show off a feature, specifically our journey builder, and more specifically when we talk about journey builder, because I think there's a lot of different companies that use the concept of say a journey builder, or at least like a graphical way of displaying things. These are for a number of different things, and for us, we really want to show it off as part of like what's important for us, and how we think of it as a customer journey is really that idea of like managing and customers' experiences and touch points as it relates to your digital platform. So think of it as like A/B testing, feature flagging, and messaging across web, mobile, server side, whatever it may be. So I'll just, to give a bit of background on this, I'm just going to create like just a simple, just like test journey. I have one that I built that I'll go into in a little more depth a little bit later, but just to give everyone just some baseline sense of what we're talking about. When we talk about Journey Builder, this is kind of what I'm talking about. And essentially what it is you have triggers that define when and why someone might enter the journey. So think of it as like conditions by which someone might enter an audience, an event in your app or website or server that essentially defines that something happens and pulls them into it. Or you have you can trigger onto an endpoint that says like a server side call that triggers for something like transactional. From there, you have essentially what are different kind of like categories of actions. Like messages are kind of like generic, not less generic actions specifically around messaging for email push or otherwise. And then you have a more generic set of actions around whether you're going to delay something, schedule something, run an A/B test, a feature flag, or branch off of basically if-then conditional logic. We have some concept of some smart kind of node technology, exits, and ways of testing. So what I want to do is, by way of a demo, showing off, maybe just like a subset of this functionality and say how we think about a user of our platforms, whether it's a mobile app or website, and how we can connect, like I said, the experiences that a user is like seeing and feeling to the communications that we deliver them. Yeah. So any, I guess if we, as we're going, like I said, you can post, feel free to post questions. Vic, anything so far? Did I touch on that pretty well?
Nope, just Elliot requesting a joke at some point. That's about it. But yeah, you got it.
Okay, cool. So we'll dive into the demo for this in particular. And so when I think about the breadth of what's possible from, customer experience kind of automation or management, when you're combining, say, like cross-platform experimentation with cross-platform feature flagging, and then messaging, and then potentially connecting other places like with webhooks and stuff, it becomes like a pretty broad kind of concept. So I want to distill that down into a very specific example. And I think an example that a lot of us, in product management can relate to is this idea of, say, like a feature launch. So for the purposes of my example, I'm going to talk through the thing. It's obviously like just a demo, not necessarily functional, and it's for demonstration purposes. So what we're going to talk about here is this concept of, say, for a retail app, launching a new product recommendation service. So let's say I'm a retailer and I know something about the users of my app, and now I've basically either contracted out for a new like recommendation service that's going to recommend like a type of shoe for my client based off of the previous stuff, or I've maybe built an API for it. So essentially, I think as we all know from as product management, we want to be able to validate that API is working correctly, make sure it doesn't have errors. We want to slowly roll it out, make sure that it's actually adding value to our business. But beyond even just like those simple things of like managing that rollout, we're doing it because we think that it's going to improve the experience for our users. We're doing it because we want users to engage with it, and most importantly, drive value by actually increasing, for this example, increasing purchases. Maybe for any example, it might be increasing revenue, might be decreasing costs, maybe reducing churn if you're in SaaS. But at least from here, we're going to think about it as increasing revenue. So for our example, we have this concept of a new API of a product recommendation service, and we're going to do a rollout. So I've already kind of created this, so I don't have to dig in and create everything. I'm going to build some of this stuff as we go, but most of it is already here. So what I'm probably going to do when I think about this, when I think about the concept of a rollout, I'm going to take my users and I'm going to create an initial audience, a reason for including people. And you could do, anything built in. You can do this in our platform based off of, any sort of data that's being passed in, whether it's, first party data that we're seeing in terms of like, new user session counts, times in session, can even dig back into, say, different events or attributes or things like that. But maybe, I am personally from Toronto, and maybe I actually think that I want to geo-target my users because like Toronto is a nice representative market in a few ways. It's got a good population. Like I said, this is a demo audience, so I can test it. It's only going to be 47 users, but you get the picture. I can validate the different size of my audience, and I can target off of a number of different things, whether that's like beta groups or otherwise. But I can pick whatever this may be and whatever different method by which I'm going to target them. I can think of it as like a one-time audience, like a live audience or recurring audience, but like that's less important. I'm just going to go ahead and use this. So I've decided that, hey, for this particular new product launch, I'm going to roll this out. Now, our platform is based generally around these concepts of, experiments, feature flags, push notifications in broad, like in general terms. And so I'm not going to dig into that for right now, but let's just, because we only have 30 minutes, a quick demo, but let's just assume that, okay, I've already built out my feature flag. It's here, it's ready to go. This basically, when a user comes into this node, they're essentially getting, wherever it may be, this new API for recommendation. So whether that's the app, the website, somewhere else. So from there, I've decided that this is going to be a targeted rollout at some small percentage of my users, specifically on geo-targeting. But now, as I said, I want to actually connect that to how I'm targeting my users. In the old world, if I did this, let's say Toronto was 1% of my user base, I had basically two suboptimal decisions. I could either, when I'm delivering this out to say 1 million of my 100 million users, I could either not announce it to anyone, and like see what was happening, see if I get errors, see how how people are using it, or I could announce it to everyone. And some people may know about it. Some people may try to get it. You may have to put like a notification up on your website or app that says this thing is coming for those that haven't received it yet. But when we think about this in terms of combining it and having this actually managing this first party data, having it all in one place, because we've actually delivered this feature flag, we know exactly who is in this beta group and who's in this initial rollout. And so from that perspective, we can target those messaging. And from here, like I'm going to show off Taplytics, push, and email messaging. But hey, with our webhook nodes, you could effectively use any platform to do this. You could target it into Twilio or Zapier, or your own kind of NTA, whatever that may be. And we can do that. So, but at least from this example, I'm going to make sure that only the people who've been rolled out are getting a notification about this new feature announcement. But also, I'm going to run an A/B test on this journey. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to see what happens to say just to those people who've received this feature that this thing is available, why, and all this stuff, and why they should be excited. But I'm also going to hold out a percentage of the users. So I can say, hey, 45% of the users who receive it are going to get push, 45% are going to get an email, 10% are going to get hold out, and I'm going to be able to assess all that data as this journey is running to understand, am I better off in any state of the world here? I can also, as this shows, so I don't need to dig into this here, but I can actually like simulate what this would look like before I run to see and really understand how users are going to flow through this journey. But I'll just like save that split. From here, at least at this first stage, I'm actually going to stay relatively generic. When we think about the concept of these journeys, we want them to be as unique and personalized as possible. But at least from the purposes of this, all I really want to do is announce the thing. So I'm going to create a push notification. I just call it a new feature alert, announcing this, our new product recommendation service. And hey, I added in at least the notification of this being to our Toronto users exclusively. Any personalization that you can do is great, but I'm trying to do this a little bit generic. Could add an image if I want, could add APNS options, could even add different kind of like deep linking or whatever if I'd like. So I've already set that up, but I'm going to go back. If I had fully kind of addressed all the different features, this basically be ready to go. But then on the other flip side, I'm going to have an email. I put in at least just a like kind of a generic Taplytics product launch announcement. This is actually a template. Sorry about the work from home noise in the background, such as our life these days. But yeah, so I have a generic kind of, we just launched semi-recently our broader universal API. And so I just pulled this template in. I could edit it in here. You can see we leverage handlebars. This could be used actually in push or email to personalize this. And you could say whatever you want. I can modify this to be not just universal API, but announcing this new product recommendation service. I can localize it to languages. I can test the email in particular. We all know email is a little bit more finicky than say push notifications, a lot of things to do. So being able to test it and validate and everything is definitely important. But yeah, I think the fun stuff is yet to come here. So now we have our A/B test that basically says, hey, just these Toronto users, they've received this new feature. Now we're going to test 45% to each. What happens if we announce this email? What happens if we announce it via push? And we'll start to see what happens. Now, again, why stop there? Why just announce the thing? Why not dive in and actually see, hey, have people used it? And can I then give them a nudge? And can I engage with them in a different way? Because they now have this feature because that specific group had been communicated to. So within the context here, I've said, what happens if I've sent it? I wait a couple days, I wait a week. I've put in a delay note here, so actually I can zoom in a little bit. After the emails and the push, I say on send. I can actually say on anything on send, on open, on receive. We can tie into other actions to trigger off here. But on send, I'm gonna wait a week. This could be, if I want it to be, a week, a day, a month, a minute, whatever we want. But a week seems reasonable. And from there, I'm going to do two things. One thing is that, as we said here, hey, if this is a product recommendation service, it's really just an API endpoint. So why not, after announcing it and seeing if they leverage it, if they don't leverage it, bring this new product to them. So what I'm going to do is actually leverage the webhook node, and I just put in like an example API. So hey, it's the API, so my product recommendations endpoint. But what happened? And so what I'm going to do is actually hit this endpoint with the user data, and then just feed into a different data object. So this can be whatever data object I want. You can have as many different names within the journey. It lives within the context of the journey. So I can essentially use any number of different things. I can fill any number of different data points. I can touch internal APIs. I can pull externally, can connect to whatever. So for this purpose, like I said, leveraging the endpoint that was already created for the feature and bringing it to the rest of that experience. So I'm going to leverage this, put it into a data point, save that. And now what I'm going to do is actually start to leverage some of the data that's being built up about these things, and make a decision on what I want to do. So I have a conditional branch node in here that I've kind of populated. I'm basically saying, okay, great. The whole purpose of this new endpoint was to drive more product purchases. So I want to evaluate against that. And so I did something really simple here. I just said, hey, no purchases and some purchases. Here, I'll just dive in. And so basically saying if no one has bought anything, I want to do something. If people have bought something, so here I'll go in and say, like, essentially this action, like purchase completed. I actually evaluated this as like a sum value. And I, evaluate to be between $0 and $20. But what happens if instead of that, I actually go and have someone who's, purchased a ton of things? I mean, I want to action it differently if I have a highly engaged user. And I can show you a little bit about how I built these other ones at the same time. So I'm going to edit this. I'm actually going to get rid of my second part here. I'm going to say, based on the event purchase completed, I can actually action this on like, hey, if I wanted to do it based off of like the count of purchases, maybe I want to do it the sum of purchases, average, minimum, maximum, whatever. But more importantly, it's actually, so for me, it's sum. I want to know, like within the context of this, I could do both probably. I could do an or on count and on value. But at least for this perspective, what I think I'm trying to do in my hypothetical scenario here is drive more purchases in whatever context that is. And to me, what that means is I want to drive more revenue. So I'm just going to do sum of purchase value. And then from here, I only care about, from launch day onwards. So I'm actually going to evaluate this event, this purchase completed event. Let's say today's my launch day. I could do that here, or, maybe I'm planning my launch ahead. So I'm actually going to launch it Monday. So I'm going to have my start date here, but I'm not going to have an end date. Or I can default it to all time, or I can do it based off of whatever. So I'm going to say, hey, starting on my launch date, I want to evaluate this. And by the time I get to this week out, have I made this set of purchases? And at least to have it evaluate and make sense, I'm going to say, hey, it's at least $20. So, hey, my example that I used here of shoes may not make sense. Maybe with $20, maybe actually it's like $200. So if someone buys, a $50 pair of kicks via my recommendation versus $200, that's very different. But I can save those changes. Actually, I'll call this, whether it's like highly engaged, some purchases, many purchases. I know I may be a little bit less creative when it comes to my branch name, but as long as it's descriptive, that's all that matters. So I'm going to save that. And now I have my branches to leverage. I can actually also have a default branch. So anyone who may not fall in within any of these are all available. So this is all saved up, but I haven't pushed it live. I'll continue and just and get it going. So from here, now I have all of my branches available to leverage. So if I have, from here, what am I doing when I say, hey, I'm going to actually bring this product recommendation service into to the users? The way I would probably think about it is I'm actually going to drive an email. I could probably do a push and just pull the one top recommendation, and maybe I show an example of that. But similarly to here, I can pull this in, and then hey, if they actually are a great user of this product, maybe actually just drop them off this journey. So from here, I take my conditional branch node, and a symbol is this. I say, hey, I'm going to give them a simple, target them just to the top, just the top recommendation in the push notification, just to say, hey, we think this is the best thing that you should be buying, and try to really hit them on that. Maybe it's the fear of missing out on that product recommendation, and we think that is going to be the driver to the next step. Then maybe for some level purchases, they have engaged. So maybe what we do is we pull the entire set of recommendations into the email. We can use that data object that I was creating and leverage all of the different points that are passed back in that email to say, hey, these are all the things that are possible, with this new targeted messaging. And then from here, I can then also take my high degree of purchasing and drive right into the exit node. So I can say, hey, they've engaged greatly. These users have essentially done what I'm looking for them to do. I'm going to remove them from this journey. So no matter what I do from this point forward, and this journey I know for this example, we're talking about a simple one-time rollout, but the cool thing about this is it could live on forever. I could call this an onboarding journey into this feature and just have it be something that happens every day, every week, or constantly as people are evaluated into it. And then from there, I can say, run my email, run my push, have it exit here, see how it works, see how it evaluates against my goals, see how it evaluates against my broader business value goals, and then say a week or a month or a quarter later, if this is something that I've been onboarding into this new feature over time, and I've actually targeted, I can then constantly build in, constantly add new steps to really continue, driving towards those product goals. So yeah, I think I guess this isn't a normal demo. I normally think about 7 minutes left and asking for questions and things like that. But Vic, did I touch on everything?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go do a quick recap and really touch on a lot of this. I mean, you've covered a lot, and there's just a lot more to this that you didn't get to cover. So, quick recap. For anybody who's joining late or anybody who just saw that, we built something that allows you to put everything into one visualization. So your whole rollouts, your features, your feature rollout, your marketing communications, your drip campaigns, your outreach, and have all these put into one spot while managing your audiences, creating your campaigns based on geo or events or money, and doing those segmentations, and even collecting data and putting them into your emails or push notifications, or using them throughout the journey that we've built here. And like Cobi said, this isn't just a one-off campaign. These things can be living and breathing and constantly modified, so you're always moving your users throughout this consistent journey, not pestering them too much, not giving them too much information, or removing them if they're not interactive. It's one tool that can do all of this in a very simple way. Even our email system that we have, it adds as far as I know, some of the lowest bloat on the entire market for our emails. We've put a lot of consideration into every single one of these pieces and putting them together. So I'm really excited to get people to start playing around with this. And this is just one example of the many things we've seen people do. So anybody has any questions, definitely throw them our way. Or if you want to see something more, reach out. And yeah, I'm in. Okay, well, there's Dexter saying, I'm free. Please reach out. I'm in Toronto. I'm always happy to show this off and talk about it. So contact me or Cobi, who's now a blank screen to me. I don't know if anybody else. Yeah.
I can do my space, but I think the one thing that we didn't touch on there that is important, I think I said earlier on that like ties into obviously our base level of like flagging, experimentation, all this stuff that, you know, our starting point is obviously in the mobile A/B testing side and growing into multi-platform A/B testing. So the thing that we didn't have time with, say, like 5 minutes to go, is to really dig into the data side. But the cool part about it, as I was saying, is like the ability to track like that value growth. Not just on, say, your A/B testing, not just say on your feature flagging, not just say on your push notifications distinctly, but how that all comes together into this one unified thing is really I think one of the cooler parts of it. But hey, like just the ability to be able to combine these things and think about, you know, if you are a product manager at like say a big enterprise company and feature rollouts are risky, like that ability to manage that feature rollout or that A/B test into very narrow audiences, but then being able to target those audiences with specific messaging based off of exactly what they're receiving is pretty cool.
And on top of that, you can this all connects into pretty much every platform. We have, like, now that the market's expanded to OTT, so watches, television, server-side web, everybody's ecosystem isn't just an app or website anymore. It's a whole user experience. And so the reason it's called the customer experience platform is all of these things connect. You can do your one feature rollout across every single platform and have all those metrics come in from everywhere and target these users and specific platforms right across the board. So it's really, really, really powerful, and there's a lot that you can do with it.
Cool. So I see that there were a couple. Oh, there's a question around in the event. Is that different than the session?
Yes.
I don't. But test trick, my favorite feature in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we started a couple minutes early. Dex, is there anything else that you want covered here with, I guess, some free time for whoever needs to hop into the next thing?
No, I think he's handed off everything to us. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank
free to reach out.
you, everyone, for the time. Yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to me or Vic or anyone else at Taplytics. And happy to connect about anything. If it's just to talk about, you know, product or testing or, you know, communication strategies. We also just like connecting with the community. So thank you so much, everyone, for having us here. Had some fun.
Bye.